night or good morning or good evening or whenever you see me. Hello, I'm Leather Rokk. Welcome to my channel. I want to talk to you about my day and stuff that people put buskers through. In case you ever wondered what it's like to be a street musician and be hanging out, especially if you're hanging out kind of late at night. And if you're in a resort like I am and you're trying to make a buck with your musical instrument, well, let me tell you about my day. Uh, I've been trying to rest my legs because of this leg cramp issue I've been getting, and my sleep schedule is totally off because sometimes I'm in the wee hours, sometimes I start out in the daytime, and you start partying with people, and next thing you know, it's all night, and you see the sun come up, and and I'm still not getting a whole lot of sleep during the daytime when I do this, and sometimes I miss a whole day of work as a result. So last we talked about the street busking issue, I got a fully six-string guitar, and fingers crossed, haven't broken these strings yet. So uh, I was resting up today, and I thought I heard a doorbell. I wasn't sure, but yes, it was a doorbell, and I wasn't dressed, so I had to run down, look at the peephole, ask if somebody was there. And apparently, a friend of mine who is another guitar player was here, but somebody flagged him down. Meanwhile, I threw on a dress because I was naked as a jaybird, couldn't very well invite anybody in like that. So found out a friend of mine needed the phone number for a music store because he wanted to buy an amp, because he did buy an electric, but not the one that he and I were both looking at. This was not that Stratocaster. It was a guitar brand I'd never heard of, but it had a whammy bar attached to it, and it was a beautiful instrument, but he wanted a little amp. And the music store was open till like 5 o'clock or whatever, and it was like 2 something. And anyway, I gave him the phone number, and he already knows where the bus terminal is. And, I told him, whatever you do, don't get lost on Main Street. I did. I wasted 2 hours because people kept on telling me to go down that way. And, of course, I didn't understand that it wasn't even on Main Street. But, yeah, when you don't live in a certain area, and it's an area that generally many parts of it have a reputation for being kind of ghetto and crime-ridden and stuff, and I know I don't have any room to talk considering the kind of neighborhood I live in, but still, it is a rough area unless you're in certain cleaner areas or on certain main drags where there are some nicer spots where it is. So my friend said for me to meet him around Hard Rock tonight, right? Well, I must have gotten some sleep. I had to get some rest, and I'm trying to up my water intake. I really am, because leg cramps are a bitch. And I noticed I got some comments on here on YouTube. People said that for me to come outside, they wanted to get me stoned, blah, blah, blah. This is about 8:30. But then I fell back asleep, and I woke up again. I said, oh my goodness, by now it's 11 o'clock, right? I touch up my makeup, I throw on what I'm got on now, and I hit the boardwalk with my guitar. And the first place I hit was Tropicana, because I know some people that hang out there, and then there's some people that sell weed there, and I checked out and there was just really nobody hanging out, and the weather was still muggy, humid, even in the wee hours here. I mean, there's hardly any airflow. Right now, I'm looking at my computer. It says it's 69 degrees here. I don't believe it. I didn't have to put on a shirt. Briefly, I put on this long sleeve, flimsy little thing, and 2 hours or less than an hour later, I got sweaty. Because, depending on where you are on the boardwalk, the temperature changes. Some guy, I decided to play in front of resorts. I couldn't find the person who I was supposed to meet up with. Maybe he got drunk and passed out. Maybe somebody invited him to one of his hotel rooms. There is somebody that's been letting people stay and shower and do things at his hotel room, but the thing is, I got a funny vibe off of him because I know the males that he's been hanging out with, but when he asked me, he knew that playing guitar was my livelihood, and he saw that beat up pair of shoes that I'd shown you before that looked like, the one that the sole was totally, it's going to go any day, but I still like to wear them around the house as slippers, because, I don't have to worry about shoving my feet in them and stuff with a sneaker like otherwise I would be doing. I'm wearing sneakers, now. But anyway, the guy said that he had a pair of moccasins for me that would fit me and everything. And I just, I happened to be up in the area. But then he said that he said, and I quote, he had a room at Bally's and said we could talk. I said, what do we have to talk? If you have anything to say to me, you could stay here on the boardwalk in front of our buddies. Now, if you people that want to talk to you privately, it's never a good thing. Like one time I was in this place, a Saturday morning place, a lot of us call the Red Door, and some strange guy came up to me, and I thought that it was because, he had a Steelers hat on, and I am a Pittsburgh fan, so I thought it was going to be some sports talk. He wanted me to come close to him, and then he asked me if I was a man or a woman, and I know that in this day and age, it's better to ask than to assume, and you can't assume apparently because there's a whole lot of people who have interesting views of biology in the year 2023. I think you guys know what I mean here. But this was a guy that was middle-aged and older, and you don't need to be rude. And the fact that he said it in a manner that, how do you think it was going to make me feel? That I don't look feminine enough to be considered pretty enough to be a girl. I mean, that is basically what he was telling me. And it's like, and the thing is, any way I reacted, somebody would be offended. Because I have met genuine transgender individuals, and they're kind people, and I would terribly be hurt if something I said or did hurt them. But then on the same token, I'm going to be reasonable here, and I'm not going to just go along with something that the crowd goes along with when I know it's a bunch of horse manure. Okay. So anyway, I actually left the place after that because I didn't want to create a commotion. I didn't want to raise my voice, but some places don't police their assholes. And in other places, the police are the assholes, or some of them are assholes. So anyway, I'm hanging out in front of resorts at this point, and there was a lot of police activity tonight, but fortunately it didn't, I don't know what they were after, but maybe it was something that was really criminal, because there was a lot of people that were just hanging around. And but I didn't see any other musicians, though. It was interesting. So, but I set up a place that was quiet. After midnight, they turned off the noise on the kiosks that have supply us with our Wi-Fi. And I played, and some guy gave me $2 Kennedy half dollars, and I appreciated that. And plus, Kennedy half dollars you don't see too much anymore, and they're shiny, and they're hard, and they're big, and And I played for a while, and there was hardly any foot traffic, so I decided I'm going to go back down toward Tropicana. Maybe some of my friends would still be hanging out there. And there was literally so few people. I wouldn't call it desolate, because there's still a lot of people that sleep in public were sleeping on benches in different places. And I guess the cops don't give them tickets when it's this late at night and they're sleeping, but when the sun rises, and certainly I would think that heat and the bright light would make it uncomfortable, even though I've seen some people get smart and they have an umbrella open over them. But how they can be comfortable slumped over in their chairs, I mean, I'm thinking how their backs must hurt. Have you ever stopped to think about the homeless people around you that have to sit in uncomfortable positions and have to sleep there? You ever stop to think about how that must hurt them? Or do you just walk by like that's just refuse or human refuse? I mean, just please stop to think that those are people. And especially if people live in New York City and it's a winter time and you see these piles of textiles over storm grates and steam vents and stuff. And I was fooled by this at first when I would come back to the East Coast for my Christmas vacations. And it took me a while to realize that was a person that was sleeping on the streets. And I can't even imagine what it's like to sleep on the street in the wintertime and you're cuddled over a heat source, but it's this humid thing. And you see these piles of, to the untrained naked eye. But if you know, those are people. And that can't be. To be homeless in a cold climate, I can't imagine. Now, I don't know how the people that are on the street that I see in the summertime, how they do it. So please, just when you're walking around, if you see people like that, and first of all, if they're sleeping, let them sleep, because that may be the only time they could sleep. For all you know, a security guard or a cop is going to wake them up at daybreak, so let them have their rest. If you can, maybe hide some money in their pocket or do something if you want to be nice to them. But yeah, be aware of the people that are really forced to be physically uncomfortable just to survive. And I was noticing that. And another thing, if you're playing outside or you're talking outside and you see that there's people sleeping, don't disturb them. I moved deliberately once I saw that there was people sleeping around me. I didn't want to disturb them. On the same token, if you see me playing and you're a handful of tourists and you're not even going to tip me, you just gather around and you have like a football huddle like 15 feet from me, and you're kind of blocking the view of me from other people. And I don't usually say anything about it because sometimes your premature sarcasm will get you guaranteed not to get tipped by people that maybe were thinking about it. Because you don't know. Sometimes people wait till the last minute, or they expect to hear a song first, or, oh, we're going to get to that. Well, I finally realized this wasn't a good area, so I went back down beach. And I checked the Tropicana area, and the people selling weed weren't there, and my friend wasn't there. He looked kind of down anyway. I don't know what kind of day he had. And sometimes you know not to bother people, and you give them space because they look like they needed space. And I know how I feel when that's what I need, and people encroach on me. So that's why I don't say things to people so much. But so I found a spot. I decided, you know what, I'm going to stick my hat out, because if I don't stick my hat out and I don't play, I'm guaranteed not to make anything. So then this guy, he spoke mostly Spanish, but he spoke a little bit of English, and I guess he was from out of town. He asked me to play him a song, and usually if I'm on my way to my play spot, I try not to do it because there's usually nobody's going to give you any money. They just waste your time. I figure he looked like he wanted to tip me, so I played one of my songs, and I sang for him. I did my squirrel song. And then he pointed to my things. He says, "You smoke weed?" And I said, "Yeah." And my ears perked up thinking, oh, I guess he's going to fill my bowl, right? And matter of fact, I pulled my pipe out. But then he asked me if I did cocaine. And I said, no. And he asked me if I drank. I said, no. And he asked me if I did anything else. And I need to mention something else to him. Before this whole interchange started, I'm trailing my cart in one hand. I have my guitar wrapped around me in the other. Now, why would anybody think a person with guitar strapped around them and a pick in their hand, even if they're trailing somebody else, why would you think that they don't play the instrument? Because he asked me, do I play? I'm thinking, are you a fucking idiot? I try to rein in my sarcasm, but sometimes the only thing that stops me from sarcasm is if I know they're genuinely mentally slow, or if I know they're drunk, or if, my friends, first of all, my friends wouldn't be that stupid, but if you're really being rude and you're being mean, then I will let you have it, and I will have no problem with embarrassing you in front of your friends if you're trying to be rude, and I have been hassled, especially considering I'm by myself, and no, I will defend myself. So, but yeah, the guy ruined it when he asked if I did anything else, and I said, you know what, you just wasted my time, number one. I could be playing and making money, and number two, saying that to somebody, what, you assume every woman here is a hooker? I said, you know what, you are why you give other tourists a bad name. And I live in this town, and we don't appreciate people like you, and we women don't appreciate men like you. It's starting to make women really not like men too much, because I'm starting to think all men are disgusting like you. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go home. But something told me that I should go and check the stage first. So I went to check the stage, and there was just some people that were sleeping all around there. And then I went up to Bally's, and it was dead, except for they have these big floodlights, which, you know what, that really, I could have done some filming there tonight because they have really bright lights. They flood there, you just got to get to before they put their own music. That's the only thing, is you got to get a quiet spot. And that's what's so hard to find in this town. So I'm coming back down beach, and that same idiot who had basically accused me of being a hooker, I saw him again. He apologized. He held out his hand, and he gave me 2 $5 ocean poker chips. So today I made a grand total of $11. So this is what I'm telling you. The theme of this night is sometimes you have to put up with a lot of harassment and bullshit just to make a little bit of money. And especially in these wee hours, and since it's after Labor Day, there's less foot traffic. And, and another thing, I told you a couple of days ago that my mother had to complain about the people making noise out front. Well, as I was coming home, there was a serious gangster convention across the street. I mean, they were hooting and hollering, and whatever, and girls were with them, and stuff, and yelling back and forth. And they didn't need to yell at each other because they were this close. I mean, everybody could fit between here and here, okay? And they're making noise. And I came up, I stood like I'm looking at him, and the one man said to the other guy, "This lady looks like she has something to say." And when they got quiet, not everybody, but these two, I came up to the big guy. I said, "Hi, I'm your neighbor. You see that? That's my apartment. And I'm taking care of my mom, and she's old, and she's not doing too well. And she kind of has a temper. And, you know, we live here. Maybe you don't realize there are families that actually do sleep in the wee hours. And I come home, I would expect that within 10 minutes they would be quiet because I'm about ready to go to bed." And I said, "That one light can't be shut off because if I shut it off, I can't turn it back on." We have bad wiring in this house, by the way. I have to sleep with light on. I have to put something like socks over my eyes or tie a headband over my eyes because otherwise I can't, this lights get in my eyes. But yeah, I had to ask them to tone it down, so they actually left. There's a whole new crop being Wacy right now. Funny. That's life in the ghetto. And it's also life when you're a busker. You never know. Every day is different. But at least I didn't break any strings. I did not break any strings. And I might do my hair tomorrow, so you guys can look forward to a hair dye video real soon. Okay, you guys, take care. I will talk to you when I talk to you. See, I need to work on my lighting too. All right, bye-bye.